The dark sky lit up with strange lights. All TVs on Earth showed the same thing at once. Captain Hand stood on his ship, the Star Defender, watching the alien message play. The aliens looked almost human but had blue-gray skin, 4 eyes, and gill-like slits on their necks. "People of Earth," the computer voice said, "we are the Voraks. Your world now belongs to us. Fighting back is useless. We have beaten 37 other worlds before yours. Get ready for our arrival." Hand's hands gripped the rail tightly. Humans had only just learned to travel between stars. They were not ready to fight such a powerful enemy. "Captain," his friend Jun called out, "our outer bases report seeing ships that match the Voraks' description entering our space." Han nodded with a grim face. "Tell Earth leaders to prepare for war." The Voraks attacked fast. 3 human bases fell in just a few days. The Voraks had weapons humans had never seen before. But the worst part was what they did with human prisoners. They didn't keep them alive. They ate them. Reports came back to Earth showing humans being processed like cattle in huge buildings. The Voraks used human bodies to feed their troops. These terrible images broke something deep in humanity's spirit. At an emergency meeting on Earth, Admiral Quan hit the table with his fist. "We can't match their technology yet, but we need time. How do we fight an enemy that sees us as food?" From the back of the room, a quiet voice spoke up. It was Dr. Seo, Earth's top alien expert. "We need to understand them to beat them. I found something important in their messages." She showed a picture of Voraks brain patterns. They have very strong family bonds, especially between parents and children. It's the center of their society. We could use this against them. "Are you talking about mental warfare?" Quan asked. Seo's face was serious. "I'm saying we should give them a taste of their own medicine. Literally." Han, who was called back to Earth for this meeting, felt cold fear. "You can't mean that. They're eating our people," Seo said firmly. "And they'll keep eating us until we show them we're not just prey. We need to make them feel what they've done to us." The room went silent as everyone thought about what she meant. Finally, President Yun spoke. "We've never faced the end of our species before. Normal rules might not apply. What exactly are you suggesting, Doctor?" Seo took a deep breath. "We attack their supply lines. We capture their children being moved to safety. Then we make sure they know exactly what we did when we send back their ships." People in the room started arguing loudly. Some leaders walked out in disgust. Others sat shocked that humans would even think about such a plan. Han stayed seated, his mind racing. The Voraks had already killed millions. His own sister had been on one of the first bases that fell. Was there even a line left to cross? "This isn't who we are," Jun whispered beside him. "Maybe not," Han answered. "But the question is, who do we need to become to survive?" As the fight continued, Earth's forces kept losing ground. The Voraks fleet was nearing Mars. Humans had only weeks, maybe days, before Earth itself would be attacked. President Yun called for quiet. "We will vote. Operation Dark Mirror, yes or no." The votes came in one by one. The final count: 7 yes, 6 no. Han was put in charge of the mission. He would leave a small group of hidden ships to attack a Voraks convoy, carrying their young to a safe world far from the fighting. As he got ready to leave, Jun found him in his room. "I asked to join your ship," she said. "Why?" "You were against this plan." "Because someone needs to remember who we used to be," she replied. "When this is all over, if we win, someone needs to remember what it cost us." Han nodded. "I hope when this is over, we can find our way back to who we were." As the ships prepared to leave, Han looked at his crew. They were determined, strong, and scared, not of the enemy, but of what they were about to become. The ships disappeared into the darkness of space, carrying humanity's last, terrible hope. The human ships moved quietly through space, with special systems that made them invisible. 6 ships, all that Earth could spare, on a mission that would either save humanity or turn them into monsters. On his ship, the Shadow Hunter, Captain Han looked at the screen. The Vorax ships were exactly where the spies said they would be. 7 big transport ships with few guards, carrying thousands of Vorax children to a safe world far away. "Are weapons ready?" Han asked calmly, though he knew what they were about to do was terrible. "All ready, Captain," said Weapons Officer Min. His hand shook a little as he touched the controls. Han understood why Min was scared. They weren't just attacking enemies. They were going after children. But when Han remembered the pictures of humans being processed for food, he became strong again. "Jun, get the message ready. We need them to understand exactly why we're doing this." Jun nodded. Her face was white, but her voice didn't shake. "Message is ready. Target only the guard ships. We want the transports in one piece." The fleet moved into place. Han took a deep breath and gave the order. "Fire." The human ships attacked with all their power. The Vorax guards were caught by surprise and couldn't fight back. Within minutes, the transport ships were helpless. "Captain," Jun called out, "we're getting calls for help from the transports. The Vorax adults are. They're begging us not to hurt the children." Han closed his eyes for a moment. "Send our message. Make sure they understand this is payback. For every human they've eaten, we'll do the same to them." The boarding teams launched. The fight was hard but short. The adult Vorax fought to the death to protect their young, but there were too many humans with better weapons. Hours later, Han got the report. Operation Dark Mirror worked. 5,000 Vorax children were now prisoners. 1 transport was allowed to escape, carrying both survivors and the human message. Back on Earth, people had mixed feelings. Some cheered the first real hit against the Vorax. Others wondered if humanity had lost something important by doing this. Dr. Seo met Han when his ship landed at the moon base. "Was it hard to do?" she asked quietly. "Yes," he answered honestly, "but not as hard as I thought it would be." "What does that say about me?" "It says you're human," she replied. "And humans do what they must to live." Together, they walked to the secure building where the Vorax children were being held. The aliens were small, with only 2 eyes instead of 4, their neck gills not fully grown yet. They huddled together in groups, clearly scared. "We've already learned a lot about them," Seo explained. "What they eat, how they live. And we've confirmed they have a mind link with their parents. They know what's happening to them, and their parents can feel their fear." "Good," Han said coldly. "Let them feel what we felt." The next step happened quickly. Special videos were sent to Vorax command ships, showing exactly what was happening to their young. The remains of the processed Vorax children were sent back to their fleet in the same boxes they had used for human remains. The effect was instant. The Vorax attack stopped. Their ships pulled back from Mars, regrouping as if confused by this unexpected move. Admiral Kwan called an emergency meeting. "It's working," he announced. "Our spies say they're confused. Their chain of command is breaking down." "Then we push harder," Han stated. "We find more of their transports, take more of their young. Make them understand that for every human they take, we take 10 of theirs." The room went quiet. President Yun looked at each person before speaking. "Is this who we've become? Is this the humanity we're fighting to save?" "This is the humanity that lives," Han responded. "We can talk about right and wrong after we've won." The vote was all yes this time. Operation Dark Mirror would continue and grow. As Han got his fleet ready for another raid, Jun came to him in private. "I've been listening to their messages," she said quietly. "They're calling you the Butcher in their language." Han nodded. "Good. Let them fear me. Let them know that humans aren't food. We're hunters." The Shadow Hunter left again, leading the fleet into the darkness. Behind them, Earth waited, hoping that the monster they had created was one they could someday control. 3 months after Operation Dark Mirror began, the war had changed. The Vorax, once pushing forward without stopping, now played defense and seemed confused. Their mighty fleet, which had beaten 37 other worlds, now moved without clear plans. In a safe room deep under Earth, Dr. Co worked day and night to learn more about their enemy. Her lab had samples from the captured Vorax children, body tissues, brain pictures, and behavior studies. Their whole society is built around their children, she told the military leaders. Everything they do, the conquests, the resource gathering, the eating of other species, it's all to feed and protect their young. We've hit them where it hurts most. Admiral Kwan nodded. Their attacks have dropped by 60%. They've pulled back from 3 star systems already. But they haven't tried to talk peace, President Yun pointed out. If they care so much about their young, why haven't they offered to end the war? CO showed a picture of Vorax brain patterns. Pride. Their kind grew up as top hunters. The idea of being hunted is totally strange to them. They don't know how to handle this switch. But they will break. It's just a matter of time. On his ship, Captain Han got new orders. His fleet had grown to 15 ships now, all having done many raids on Vorax transports. His name had spread through enemy ranks, the human who turned their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. New information has found their main nursery world, he told his officers. Not just ships this time, a whole planet for raising their young. If we attack there, the war ends. The officers looked at each other. They had grown used to their dark work over the months, but a whole planet of children felt different. How many adult guards? Asked Min. Many, Han replied. But we have surprise on our side. And fear. They never thought we would find this place, much less attack it. Jun spoke up. Captain, I need to talk to you alone. In his private room, she faced him. This crosses a line, even for us. Attack ships are one thing, but a planet of children. We won't harm all of them, Han made clear. Just enough to make our point. We'll show everything live. The Vorax leaders will have no choice but to give up. And if they don't, how far will we go? Han's eyes were cold. As far as needed. This ends when they break, not before. The attack on the nursery world went exactly as planned. Human forces disabled the space defenses and landed attack teams on the ground. The fight was fierce. The adult Vorax fought with death-wish courage to protect their young. But in the end, they lost to the battle-hardened human forces. Within hours, Han stood in the central nursery building, surrounded by thousands of Vorax children. His soldiers waited for his orders, weapons ready. He turned on the broadcast system they had set up. Attention Vorax leaders. This is Captain Han of Earth. We have taken control of your nursery world. We have your future in our hands. You have 24 hours to surrender completely, or we will do to this entire generation what you have done to humanity. The answer came sooner than expected. A message from the Vorax Supreme Commander himself, a heavily decorated one with battle scars across his gill structures. Human. The translation said, "You have proven yourselves worthy enemies. We did not believe your kind capable of such resolve. We offer terms." Han smiled grimly. No terms. Complete surrender. Leave all human territories. Pay for the lives you've taken. You ask for everything, the Vorax commander replied. You took everything from us first, Han countered. Now you know how that feels. For several tense moments, the Vorax commander was silent. Then, we will comply. The killing must end. Word spread quickly through human space. The Vorax were leaving. The war was ending. Humanity had done the impossible, won against an overwhelming enemy. On Earth, people celebrated. Han and his crew were called heroes, saviors of the human race. Only a few voices questioned the methods used to win this victory. In a private meeting with President Yun, Han asked a question that had been bothering him. What happens now? What do we do with the Vorax children we've captured? They'll be returned, Yun answered, as part of the peace agreement. All of them, Han pressed. Yun looked at him carefully. Yes, Captain. All of them. The war is over. We don't need to be monsters anymore. Han nodded, but as he left the meeting, he wondered if it was that simple. Could they so easily put aside what they had become? And what would happen when the Vorax children who had seen humanity's cruelty grew up? The peace might have started, but Han felt the true reckoning was still to come. 6 months after the Vorax gave up, Captain Han found himself in a strange new world. Peace. His ship, the Shadow Hunter, once the sharp point of humanity's darkest actions, now worked as a peace ship, watching over the return of Vorax lands and the exchange of prisoners. Coming to the meeting point, Captain Jun reported from her station. Her voice sounded normal, but Han had known her long enough to hear the worry underneath. Today they would be giving back the last group of Vorax children to their people. 500 young ones who had spent months with humans, seeing terrible things done in the name of survival. Bring us next to the Vorax ship, Han ordered. Normal peace rules. As the ships moved into place, Han looked at the Vorax cruiser on the screen. Their ships, once scary signs of death, now seemed almost weak. The war had changed everything, including how humans saw their old enemies. The transfer began without ceremony. Vorax representatives came aboard the Shadow Hunter to take their young home. They moved stiffly, their 4 eyes carefully avoiding looking directly at the humans. Han watched from a distance as the children were led away. Some looked back at their human captors with faces he couldn't read but understood anyway. Fear, hate, deep hurt. "Sir," Jun said quietly beside him, "do you think they'll remember?" "Yes," he replied without hesitation. "They'll remember everything, just as we do." When the last of the young had been moved, the Vorax group leader approached Han. The translator in Han's ear changed the clicks and whistles of Vorax speech. "The debt is paid," the Vorax said. "Our kind will honor the agreement." Han nodded. "Make sure you do. Humanity won't wait to remind you of what happens if you forget." Later, as the Shadow Hunter returned to Earth, Han got an urgent message from Admiral Quan. "The President wants to see you right away when you return. Something about the new lands plan." Back on Earth, the after-war recovery was going strong. Cities were being rebuilt, colonies started again. But under the surface of normal life, a deeper change was happening. Dr. Seo met Han at the spaceport. "They're going to give you a medal," she said right away. "For what?" "Being the best monster." "For saving humanity," she corrected. "Whatever else happened, whatever we did, we lived." That's what they're celebrating. The president's reception was fancy. The heroes of the war were gathered. Ship captains, spy chiefs, scientists, all those who had helped win the unexpected victory. President Yun gave a strong speech about human strength and the cost of survival. "We faced the end and found inside ourselves the power to endure. History will remember this as humanity's darkest hour and its finest." When Han received his medal, the clapping was loud. To these people, he was a savior, not a butcher. He wondered if they knew the full truth of what had been done in their name. After the ceremony, President Yun invited him to a private meeting. Admiral Quan and several other high-ranking officials were there, along with Dr. Seo. "Captain Han," Yun began, "your actions were key to our victory. Now we need your skills for something equally important." "The new lands plan," Han guessed. Yes, the Vorax Empire controlled vast resources across many star systems. As part of the surrender terms, they'd given up big territories to us. We need someone to watch over the colonization efforts. Han frowned. "I'm a military officer, not a colony manager." "You're the face of our victory," Quan countered. "The colonies will need protection. The Vorax have pulled back, but there are 37 other species they conquered. Some may see us as freeing them, others as new oppressors. Or worse," Seo added, "they may see us as something more scary than the Vorax ever were." The meaning hung heavy in the air. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it could do when pushed to the edge of extinction. That reputation would now go before them wherever they went. "We need someone who understands how complex our position is," President Yun explained. Someone who can be diplomatic when needed and decisive when necessary. Han understood what was being asked of him. They wanted the Butcher to become the administrator, to use the fear his name created as a tool for peaceful expansion. What about the moral concerns? He asked. The methods we used in the war were necessary, Quan interrupted. And now we have a chance to show the galaxy another side of humanity. But we need to talk from a position of strength. And if these other species resist our new lands. The room went silent. Finally, President Yun spoke. We trust your judgment, Captain. That's why we're offering you this position. The Shadow Hunter, now a peace ship, moved into orbit around Sun World, the first major colony planet in what was once Vorax space. Renamed and refitted, the ship still carried the weight of its past, a silent reminder of humanity's power. Han stood on the bridge, watching as the planet turned below. Sun World had once been home to the Tela people, one of the first groups conquered by the Vorax. Now it would be the center of humanity's growth. First scans show the planet is still healing from Vorax rule, Jun reported. The native population is down to about 20 million, less than half their number before the conquest. And their tech level? Pre-space travel. The Vorax took away their advanced technology during their rule. Han nodded. This pattern was the same across the former empire. Subject species kept weak and without technology. Have our peace team get ready for first contact, he ordered. Full respect for their culture. We're here as friends, not conquerors. As the shuttle went down to the planet's surface, Han reviewed what they knew about the Tela people. Humanoid with ridged features and 4 arms. Their society had been fairly advanced before the Vorax came, like Earth in the 22nd century. The landing site was a clearing outside the largest remaining city. A group of Tela people waited, their stance careful but not hostile. Han led his team out, moving slowly and keeping his hands visible. Greetings, he said, letting the universal translator change his words. I am Captain Han of the United Earth Alliance. We come in peace. The leader of the Tela group stepped forward. We know who you are, he replied in heavy but understandable Earth language. The ones who beat the Eaters. The ones who made them eat their young. Han kept his face calm despite his shock. You speak our language. The Eaters made us learn many languages, to better serve them. The Tela studied Han with unsettling focus. Now we must learn to serve new masters, yes. No, Han stated firmly. We're not here to replace the Vorax. We're here to offer friendship, trade, protection. The Tela made a sound that might have been laughter. Protection. From what? The galaxy's hunters now fear the humans, the species that broke the unbreakable. The meeting continued in the city's central hall. As Han outlined humanity's offers, technology help, medical aid, defense packs, he became increasingly aware of how the Tela people viewed his team. Not with fear, exactly, but with careful respect mixed with something darker. We have heard, the Tela leader said during a break in talks, that you keep Vorax young as prizes on your home world. That your children are taught to fear them as monsters. That's not true, Jun cut in. All Vorax prisoners were returned. Truth matters less than stories, the Tela replied. And the story of humanity grows with each telling. Han realized that they were facing an unexpected problem. Humanity had beaten the Vorax through brutal means, and that brutality had become their calling card across the former empire. How could they build peaceful relations when their reputation went before them? Back on the Shadow Hunter, Han called a strategy meeting with his senior staff. We have an image problem, he announced. The species of the former Vorax Empire see us as conquerors, not friends. Is that surprising? Min asked. We won through terror. Now we're claiming their worlds. We're offering protection and partnership, Jun countered. That's not conquest. Isn't it? Min challenged. We're the top power now. We're setting the terms. How is that different from what the Vorax did, except in degree? The question hung in the air, uncomfortable but necessary. We need to prove our intentions, Han decided. Actions, not words. Begin the medical aid program right away. And I want our engineers to start work on fixing their power grid. Over the next several weeks, human teams worked alongside telepeople to rebuild infrastructure and provide medical care. Slowly, carefully, the two species began to form connections. Han made a point of personally visiting hospitals and building sites, talking directly with tele-citizens. Most were reserved, but a few opened up about life under Vorax rule. The constant fear, the resource-taking, the periodic cullings when population grew too large. During one such visit, a young Tela approached Han. "Is it true," she asked, "that you made them suffer as we suffered?" Han hesitated. How much should he admit? What version of humanity should he present? "We did what was necessary to survive," he answered carefully. "As your people did." The Tela nodded slowly. "Good. They deserved it." She held out one of her 4 hands. "My people will work with yours, not because we trust humans, but because we respect strength. And humans have shown great strength." 1 year into the colonization initiative, humanity's expansion into former Vorax space continued at a steady pace. 23 worlds had joined the alliance, with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Trade routes were established, technology shared, and diplomatic ties strengthened. But beneath this veneer of progress, tension simmered. On Earth, political divisions were forming between those who embraced the new interstellar reality and those who questioned the moral foundation it was built upon. Do-hyun had been summoned back to Earth for a high-level conference. The Nemesis docked at the orbital station, now bustling with ships from various species, former subjects of the Vorax, now cautious allies of humanity. "Captain on deck," a voice called as Do-hyun entered Earth Command's main conference room. President Yoon was there, along with Admiral Je-ho and representatives from the colonial administration. Do-hyun noted the absence of Dr. Myra Lee, who had become increasingly vocal about the ethical implications of humanity's expansion. "Captain Kim," Yoon greeted him. "Welcome back to Earth. Your reports from the frontier have been illuminating." "Thank you, Mr. President. I've tried to be thorough. Perhaps too thorough," Je-ho muttered. The meeting began with standard briefings, progress reports, resource allocations, security concerns. But Do-hyun sensed an underlying tension, particularly when the discussion turned to recent incidents on colony worlds. "There have been 3 attacks on human outposts in the past month," Je-ho reported. "Evidence suggests coordinated resistance movements among some of the indigenous populations." "Which species?" Do-hyun asked. "Mixed groups. Tellarites, Axanar, Denobulans, working together, which is concerning." "Why is cooperation between species concerning?" Do-hyun questioned. "Because it suggests organized resistance rather than isolated incidents," Je-ho replied. "These attacks appear to be inspired by Vorax insurgent tactics." Do-hyun frowned. "The Vorax. They've honored the surrender terms. We've had no direct conflicts with them since the war ended." "Not directly," Yoon interjected. "But intelligence suggests they're providing support to these resistance groups. Weapons, training, intelligence. That doesn't make sense," Do-hyun argued. "Why would they risk breaking the peace terms? They know what happened last time they challenged us." The room fell silent. Finally, Je-ho activated a display showing security footage from one of the attacked outposts. The grainy video showed humanoid figures, clearly not Vorax, attacking human settlers. "Look at their tactics," Je-ho pointed out. "The precision, the coordination. Now watch what happens when they capture humans." Do-hyun watched in horror as the attackers rounded up human survivors and loaded them onto transport vehicles. The implication was clear. "They're taking processing techniques from the Vorax," Yoon said grimly. "An eye for an eye, they say." "But why?" Do-hyun demanded. "We've offered partnership, aid, protection. Not everyone sees it that way," a new voice said from the doorway. Dr. Myra Lee entered, carrying a datapad. "Sorry I'm late. I was collecting some relevant information. She approached the table and activated her own display. These are communications intercepted from various resistance groups. They refer to humans as the new Devours. They believe we're no different from the Vorax, just another predator species taking what we want. That's absurd, Jai-Ho protested. We haven't processed anyone for food. No, Mireille agreed. But we die. The Council of Species held its first meeting 6 months after the attacks on human colonies. Representatives from 27 different worlds gathered on a neutral station built specially in orbit around a planet that had never been settled. Han stood at the back of the Grand Chamber, watching as delegates from former Vorax subject worlds took their seats. Some looked angry, others fearful, and a few seemed hopeful. In the center of the room was a circular table with no head position, a symbol that all species would have equal voice. "This is quite a risk you've taken," Jun said as she joined him. She had been promoted to commander after their time on the Shadow Hunter. "Bringing them all together like this." Han nodded. "The best risks are the ones you take when the alternative is worse." President Yun entered the chamber with a small delegation. The room fell silent as he took his place at the round table. Unlike formal Earth meetings, there was no calling to attention or standing in respect. This was something new, a meeting of equals. "I welcome you all to this historic gathering," Yun began. For too long, the Vorax dominated the stars through fear and violence. Humanity fought them and won, but we recognize now that victory alone is not enough. True peace cannot be built on fear. A telerepresentative stood. "Fine words, President Yun, but actions speak louder. Our people were processed by the Vorax for food. Then we watched as humans did the same to Vorax children. So tell us, what makes your kind different? Why should we trust you?" Yun didn't answer right away. Han could see him struggling with the question. Finally, the president spoke. "I cannot undo what we did during the war. When faced with extinction, humanity showed both great courage and terrible brutality. We fought monsters, and for a time, became monsters ourselves." He looked around the room. "The difference is this. We choose not to stay monsters. We choose to remember our humanity." "Words," said an Axana delegate, her skin shimmering with anger. "Just words. 3 of our colonies have been attacked by humans seeking resources, and human colonies have been attacked by resistance fighters," Quan countered from beside the president. "Violence breeds violence." The debate grew heated. Old wounds were opened, grievances aired. Han watched it all, seeing both the danger and the potential. These species had never been allowed to speak freely under Vorax rule. Now they were finding their voices. Angry, hurt, but alive. After several hours, Dr. Seo stepped forward. Though not an official delegate, she had been invited as a scientific advisor. "May I speak?" she asked. When given permission, she activated a display in the center of the table. "These are scans of brains from different species across this room. Tela, Axana, Denoba, human, and others. Despite our physical differences, the patterns of thought, emotion, and social connection are remarkably similar." She changed the display. "And these are Vorax brain patterns. Notice the difference. They evolve as pure predators, with limited capacity for empathy outside their own young. But the rest of us, we are not so different from each other." A murmur went through the chamber as delegates studied the images. "What are you suggesting?" asked a Denoba representative. "That perhaps what unites us is greater than what divides us," Seo answered. "The Vorax saw all other species as simply resources. That is not the human way, or at least it doesn't have to be." "Then what do you propose?" the teledelegate asked. Han stepped forward from his position at the back of the room. All eyes turned to him. Many recognized the butcher from reports of the war. "I propose we begin with truth," he said simply. "No empire, no masters, just worlds working together against common threats. Equal voice, equal rights, equal protection under shared laws. And if we refuse, The Oksana delegate challenged. Then you remain free to do so, Han replied. That's the difference between us and the Voraks. We offer partnership, not subjugation. The chamber fell silent again, but this time it felt different, thoughtful rather than hostile. After 3 days of difficult talks, the Charter of Worlds was signed. It wasn't perfect. Many issues remained unresolved, but it was a beginning, a first step toward healing the wounds of war and building something new from the ashes of the Voraks Empire. 5 years after the war, the Alliance of Worlds had grown to include 42 planets. The peace was not perfect. There were still attacks by small resistance groups, border disputes, and old hatreds that would not die. But most beings in the former Vorak space now lived without fear of being processed for food. Han, now Admiral Han, commanded the Alliance Defense Fleet. His reputation from the war still followed him, both the glory and the shame. Some species saw him as a hero, others as a monster, but all respected his commitment to maintaining the fragile peace. On the anniversary of the war's end, Han received a strange message. It came through official channels but was marked for his eyes only. The sender was identified simply as an old enemy. Admiral, the message read, "It is time we spoke face to face. I will be at the coordinates attached, alone and unarmed. Come alone if you dare." The children remember. Jun, now captain of her own ship, found Han in his office staring at the message. "You can't seriously be thinking of going," she said when he showed it to her. "I have to," Han replied. "This is from a Voraks commander. It's obviously a trap." Han shook his head. "The Voraks honor their agreements. This isn't a trap. It's an invitation." Despite Jun's protests, Han took a small shuttle to the coordinates, a small, uninhabited moon in a neutral system. As promised, a single Voraks was waiting at the landing site, unarmed and alone. Han recognized him instantly, the supreme commander whose surrender had ended the war. Now he looked older, his battle scars faded but still visible on his gill structures. "Captain Han," the Vorak said, using the translator device at his neck. "Or Admiral now, I hear." "Supreme Commander," Han greeted him. "You wanted to meet." "I have a name," the Vorak said, "though you humans never bothered to learn it. I am Krath." Han nodded. "Krath, then, why have you asked me here?" "To see you with my own eyes. To understand the being who brought down an empire that lasted 10,000 years. Krath studied Han carefully. "You're smaller than I expected. And you're more civil," Han replied. Krath made a sound that might have been laughter. 5 years is a long time for reflection. My people have had to reconsider many things since our defeat. They walked across the moon's surface, 2 old enemies under an alien sky. "The young ones you captured and returned," Krath said finally. "They've grown now. Many have joined our military." Han tensed. "Is that a threat?" "An observation," Krath replied. "They were shaped by their experience with humans. Some hate your kind with a burning passion. Others are fascinated by you, a species that could defeat us not just through strength, but through understanding our weaknesses." "What do you want from me?" Han asked directly. "To warn you," Krath said, "and perhaps to thank you." "Thank me?" Han couldn't hide his surprise. The Voraks Empire was built on a simple idea, that we were the natural rulers of all we surveyed, that other species existed to feed and serve us. Krath looked at Han directly, all 4 eyes focused. "You broke that idea. You showed us we could be defeated. It was enlightening. Enlightening enough that you won't try to rebuild your empire?" Han asked. "Some wish to. The young ones who were in your care. They have formed a political movement. They call themselves the Remembrance. And what do they want?" "Revenge, of course," Krath said simply. "But not all of us support them. Some of us have learned that there might be other ways to exist in this galaxy than as predator or prey." Han thought about this. "So why tell me?" "Because war is coming," Krath said. "Not today, not tomorrow, But it is coming. The young ones will not rest until they have their revenge. And when that day comes, both our species will need leaders who understand that there can be a different way. You're suggesting we work together? Han asked, incredulous. I'm suggesting that what you began with the Alliance of Worlds might be the only thing that saves us all, Krath replied. 42 worlds standing together can face threats that no single world could withstand alone. As Han prepared to leave, Krath handed him a data crystal, the locations of remembrance bases, their ship movements, their plans as far as we know them. Why are you giving me this? Han asked. Because I've seen enough death, Krath replied. 5 years ago, you forced us to eat our children until we begged for mercy. I don't want to see what would happen if the Remembrance succeeded in their plans for humanity. Han took the crystal. We'll be ready. No, Krath said softly. You won't be. Not unless you find a better answer than what you did before. The cycle of violence must end somewhere, Admiral, or it will consume us all. 10 years after the Vorax War, Admiral Han stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Peacemaker. Behind him, a combined fleet of over 200 ships from 30 different species waited in formation. Their target, the main base of the Remembrance, hidden in a distant asteroid field. The data from Krath had proven accurate. For the past 5 years, the Alliance had tracked the growing threat of the Remembrance. Young Vorax who had been captured during Operation Dark Mirror and now sought revenge against humanity. All ships report ready, Admiral, Jun said. Now an admiral herself, she commanded her own battle group within the fleet. Han nodded. Open a channel to all ships. When the channel was ready, he spoke clearly. This is Admiral Han to all ships. Today we face an enemy born from our own actions. The Remembrance exists because of what humanity did during the war. Remember that as we proceed. Our goal is not destruction, but peace, capture when possible, minimal loss of life. We are not the butchers they believe us to be. The fleet moved forward, dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the asteroid field. Almost immediately, Remembrance ships rushed to meet them. Sleek, heavily armed vessels clearly designed for war. They'd been expecting us, Jun commented. Of course, Han replied. Krath wouldn't have given us this information without their knowledge. You think it's a trap? Jun asked, surprised. I think it's a test, Han answered, for both sides. The battle began with a fury that reminded Han of the war. The Remembrance fought with a desperate hatred, throwing themselves against the Alliance fleet. But where the Vorax Empire had fought alone, the Alliance fought as one. Humans, Tela, Axana, Denoba, and dozens of other species working in perfect coordination. Han watched the tactical display, giving orders but holding back the main strike force. He was waiting for something. Sir, his communications officer called. We're receiving a transmission from the largest Remembrance ship. Put it through, Han ordered. The screen filled with the face of a young Vorax female. Her 4 eyes narrowed when she saw Han. The butcher himself, she said, her voice cold through the translator. Do you remember me, human? I was on the 3rd transport you captured. My siblings were processed while I washed. Han looked at her carefully. I remember all of you, he said quietly. Every face, every cry, every life we took to save our own. And now you've come to finish the job, she snarled. No, Han replied. I've come to end it. He signaled to his tactical officer, who sent new orders to the fleet. The Alliance ships began to pull back, creating a gap in their formation. What are you doing? The Vorax commander demanded. Showing you a different path, Han said. Your forces are outnumbered. You cannot win this battle, but you don't have to lose either. He gestured, and a new face appeared on a second screen. Krath. Elder Krath. The young commander gasped. You betrayed us to the humans. No, child, Krath responded. I opened a door. Now you must choose whether to walk through it. Han spoke again. The Alliance of Worlds offers membership to the Vorax people. Equal voice, equal rights, equal responsibilities. No processing of sentient beings. No conquest, but also no revenge for past wrongs. The young commander's guild structures flared in anger. After what you did to us. Yes, Han said simply. After what we did to you, and after what you did to us, and after what we all did to each other. The cycle ends, or it consumes us all. For a long moment, the Vorax commander was silent. Han could see her struggling with hatred born from childhood trauma. It will not be easy, she finally said. Peace never is, Han agreed. But I think we've all seen that war is worse. 3 days later, in the Grand Chamber of the Council of Species, the Vorax took their seat at the round table. The young commander, now representing her people, glared across at Han. I will never forgive you, she said softly when they met before the session. I don't ask for forgiveness, Han replied. Only that you help build something better than what came before. As the council session began, Han looked around the room at the gathered delegates. Former enemies, now cautious allies. The path ahead would not be easy. Old hatreds would flare up. New challenges would emerge. But for the first time since the war began, he felt genuine hope. Humanity had won the war not by defeating the Vorax, but by refusing to become them in victory. In the darkest moment, when they had made their enemies eat their own children, they had planted the seeds of a greater struggle, the battle to reclaim their own humanity. That battle, Han knew, would never truly end, but it was one worth fighting every single day.